Yeah, we've got a lot of participants already and already questions in the chat box, and we'll definitely be addressing those. So thank you.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Effective Resume Thursdays. We're with you every Thursday. Happy New Year. This is the first Thursday, January 7th of 2021. We'll be here every Thursday talking about resumes. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career FW Facebook page and on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. And you'll be able to go back and review it also if you'd like on the YouTube channel. By participating in this event, and if you happen to post a comment in the chat box or have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your comment, name, and picture to appear. If you're on Zoom, we ask that you use the speaker view, which is what's in the lower left-hand corner. Where that red arrow is, you can grab that white line and you can slide that back and forth if you're using a PC or a Mac, and allow you to adjust the size and ratio of the two of the speaker view option. If you have questions throughout the presentation, I know Bonnie's already asked the first question. Please use the chat box to enter your question, and that way Carol's going to monitor it, I'm monitoring it. And if you're on Facebook, you're welcome to enter your question into the comment field. I am monitoring the feed, and I'll be sure to get those questions answered for you. We are going to review 1 or 2 resumes today live online, and you can submit your resume. I know we already have one. And if you'd like to delete the header information, you can please do so before you submit the resume, because remember, your information will be on Facebook and on YouTube from here till eternity. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. I founded Career DFW back in 2008 to help the unemployed in the DFW area. I started CareerUSA.org to help people outside the DFW area back in 2012. I've written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It's available on Amazon for 15 bucks. So if you want to drive by the house, you can throw 10 bucks out the window, and I will attempt to throw a book in your window for the same $10 bill. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. It's a group that meets every Friday morning, and I'll tell you about our upcoming program tomorrow at the end of this session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team. Our speaker today is Carol Brickell. She's a certified professional career coach. So Carol, thank you for being with us, and it's all yours.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jeff, for the introduction, and Happy New Year to you. And I will share my presentation. Is it, well, that's not it. Usually I'm quicker at that. Let's see, we'll do it one more time. Welcome to everyone. Looks like we've got a good group here today. And we've got people from outside the Dallas area, which is very nice to have people from all over the country. And also I have my iPhone next to me with it running on Facebook Live as well, because we're going to do a fun giveaway for New Year's and give everybody a chance to interact. And I was looking to see, we've got one person watching so far on Facebook Live and quite a few people on Zoom. And for those that are new to this workshop, we've designed it to be fun and interactive and also very, very informative. And to get started, I'd like for everyone to open up the participant box. If you hover over the lower part of your screen on Zoom and click on participants, and go ahead and open up that box. And we will actually use that box occasionally. And what I'd like you to do right now in the participant box is click on the green check mark if you've seen one of these sessions before, one of these Resume Thursday sessions before. If you've seen one, click on the green check mark. And if not, click on the red X if you have not ever seen one before. And sometimes we do get repeat players coming in. So if everybody could open up the participant box, I see quite a few people out there, and then several people have never attended one of these before. So welcome. And what we do is there is basic content that we review every time, but there's new content every week. So it's really nice to see everybody who has joined us. And yeah, lots of new names. And then also, if you could open up your chat box as well. And good, and I see that I have opened up my chat box, and I see that I have a second resume that's been submitted for us to review today. So I'm saving that, and we'll look at those at the end of the session. And to get us warmed up, I'd like for everyone to go into chat and type in a few keywords. I'd like to know, from you all, from an audience perspective, what would you most like to learn during this session, or what resume topic are you hoping we'll address during this session? And somebody's saying they don't have voting buttons. Maybe you might be on an iPad maybe. And so if not, if you don't have voting buttons, you can just take your answer in the chat box. So thank you for that question. Okay. And while I see it on my chat, and while you all are typing in your comments, I see somebody said, is it okay to leave blanks in the work history if the blank space is not relevant to the position being sought? I don't think so. This might require a conversation, but hiring managers kind of like to see the progression. They like to see how many jobs you've had, how long you've been there. And if it's not relevant to the job, you might only have a couple of bullets, but you don't want to leave too many blank spaces, because the hiring manager wants to see the full picture of your career history, your longevity, and the full story. So hopefully that answers your questions. Okay, somebody's asking about font. There's lots of opinions out there. Oh yes, and I'm glad you said that, because during this session, I will be sharing my opinion. You'll hear my background, and you'll hear what perspective I bring to this. And Jeff may share some opinions, and we may have some experts in the audience that may share opinions. And it's your job just to soak it all in, listen to it, and apply what is meaningful to you, and you can ignore what doesn't work for you. So you'll hear lots of opinions. So we're just here to share best practices that I've seen that have worked for me and for my clients. But if it doesn't work for you, you don't have to use them. But font Calibri 11 is actually the #1 voted, and Times New Roman, but it's a little scrolly, has the sans or the serif stuff on it. But Calibri clean, nothing 10 or smaller font size. Okay, resume that attracts recruiters. This whole presentation is about that, so we'll definitely talk about that. Filtering of resumes that you submit online. We'll talk about ATS systems that read your resume and how they get parsed and sorted. I think I'll address that. If you have follow-on questions, you can certainly submit those. Making my resume stand out. Yeah, we'll talk about really the most important thing is to make your resume easy to read, easy for the systems and recruiters to see that you're a good match for the job, and usually the keywords in the job description. That's the best way to get your resume to stand out, not with big purple fonts or fancy formatting. You want the content to make you stand out, make you look like a good match for the job. Now, if you're in marketing or design, you may want to have a designed resume that when you're applying for a job as well, to show your design work. Okay. When do you know if the resume is good enough? If you start getting phone calls from recruiters saying, wow, I saw your resume, you look like a great match. that's when you'll know, when you get results. Okay. The best. Do your resume in a career transition. That requires a conversation typically. So I'd recommend, if you're going through a career transition, talk to somebody you trust about that, or reach out to a career coach. I've helped a lot of people on that particular topic, and it depends. And it depends on the marketplace, depends on skills required for the jobs you're transitioning to, depends on your experience. There's a lot of factors there. Best format for recruiting filters. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Need help with career transitioning, okay? And so I'd recommend having a conversation with somebody you trust about that. Should I apply with a text resume? I don't think so. When you upload it in the system, you want to have it in MS Word so it can be easily read. Maybe text would work. I've never really tried that, but it probably would work okay. And then when you upload your attachment that the recruiter would see in the ATS system, applicant tracking systems, when you apply online, you want to have those maybe in a PDF format so it freezes the format as you intended. Okay, good. All right, so thank you for those introductory thoughts. And as I mentioned, I'll be sharing lots of suggestions based on my perspective and my experience. And my experience is I worked as a hiring manager for many, many years in an IT firm called EDS that was acquired by Hewlett Packard in 2008. And then I took early retirement in 2012 because I knew so many people had gotten laid off and I felt a calling to get out in the world and help people find jobs. So I got a job as a recruiter in one of the big staffing firms and corporate agency as well. And so I've placed people in a variety of roles: accounting, HR, project management, sales, marketing, administrative, a variety of different roles. And then like Jeff, I've served on the pit crew for several years as well as a panelist and coach. And the pit crew is very busy right now helping people because there are a lot of hiring managers that are conducting interviews. And with the pit crew, practice interview team, what we do, this is a volunteer service. We do practice interviews with people. And we've just posted information in the chat box about how you can sign up for a mock interview. And we'd be happy to do one of those for you and provide feedback to you. And then also I've been certified by the Professional Association of Resume Writers and Career Coaches. And as I mentioned, I worked for a staffing agency. Most recently, I retired from Next Step Recruiting. And these are their hot jobs as of this morning. I keep close in touch with my colleagues there, my good friends there, and they are always looking for great candidates. And they focus more on the Dallas-Fort Worth area and are looking for candidates, especially accounting, finance, HR, professional type of roles. And they also have an IT division looking for especially programmers in the IT division. So if you meet any of these requirements for any of these jobs, auditor, treasury, accountant, payroll, HR, please reach out to me right away on LinkedIn, and I can get you connected with the right recruiter. And if you don't match these jobs exactly, but if you're in HR, payroll, accounting, finance, please send me a resume and I'll get you connected with a great recruiter. And they have a lot of jobs open. So this is our agenda for the session today. This is a special New Year's version of our agenda. We'll talk about applicant tracking systems. Several people asked about filtering. So I think we'll address your questions there. Okay. And then somebody has a question. I'm not clear on what to apply to. Working part-time for self, not having a full-time job, career transitioning conversation. Yes, I'd recommend you reach out to somebody regarding a career transitioning conversation, either somebody you trust, a mentor, or a career coach. And I'm a career coach, so if you want to reach out to me, you're welcome to. And in our agenda today, we'll talk about ATS systems. And for these presentations, I always like to update the content, mix it up a little bit. And I found some new resume writing rules. So I'm sharing those today. And then also we'll have a gift. You'll have an opportunity to win a free career coaching session. I'll be asking you to think of a number between 1 and 100. And I've written a number down on this piece of paper. And so you'll have an opportunity to win that in a moment. And I'll give you further instructions when we get closer to the time. And then we'll review some information about key components of a resume and how to structure it. And then we'll talk about those resume examples that we've got submitted. When you see me looking over here, I'm just monitoring the chat box over there. So first we'll talk about, people asked about filtering. When you're applying for jobs online, your resume goes into what's called an ATS system, the Applicant Tracking System. So it's reading the data in your resume that you're submitting. It's parsing the data, and that resume you submit should be an MS Word format. I think text will work. If anybody's ever done that, submitted their resume in text.txt format in an ATS and it worked okay, type us a comment in the comment field. I think it'll work okay. And you don't want to use any special characters, any special borders, underlines, or special formatted bullet points. The default bullets are fine, but don't use any special characters. And the data that you put in the MS Word header or footer won't get read, so don't use that. But you do want to be sure that you've modified your resume for that job that you're applying to make sure you're emphasizing the keywords that they are looking for in the job description. And there's a nifty tool out there called jobscan.co, that's correct, .co, where you can compare your resume to a job description. And it'll tell you if you match 30% or 80%, and it'll give you feedback as to whether you need to add some more keywords or change the language in your resume so it looks like you're a good match. And then you also have the opportunity to attach your resume as an attachment. And as a corporate recruiter, when I was going through the list of the 300 people that would apply for a job, I'd click on those resumes and that's what I would see. So that attachment, you may want to submit it as a PDF because that'll freeze the format. So I'll see it in the way you intended it. And then you often have the opportunity to submit a cover letter. As a recruiter, I never had time to look at those, but you may want to submit one. Just don't spend a lot of time on it. And we do have a very simple format that, that you can submit. And I see somebody has uploaded a final version of their resume that we'll use, okay? And then we've got a third one. I don't know if we'll get to the third one today, but we can get to it next week. Or if needed, you can follow up with me with email or on LinkedIn, and I can give you a couple suggestions. Okay. And regarding these ATS systems, this is another area you may get conflicting information or hear a lot of opinions. And that's because there are several different systems like Taleo, iSIMS, Workday, and each company implements them differently. So they work differently. So you need to kind of just keep the big picture in mind. Just make sure you're uploading a resume that doesn't have any special formatting. And if you have the opportunity, like with Workday, gives you the chance to review the data once it's been submitted to make sure it's clean. And the biggest, most important thing when you're applying online for a job is to contact a person, because now several of you who have attended one of these sessions before, you may know the answer to this. I'll ask you a question and type a number in chat. If you apply to a job online, what's the percentage chance that you will get called for an interview? On a scale of 1 to 100, what's the percentage chance that you'll get called for an interview if you just apply for a job online and sit back and wait? And I'm getting some answers in chat. People are saying 5, 10, 10%, 5%, 2%. That is the number. That is, and I found that to be true as a recruiter, because there'd be 300 people that would apply for a typical job, and I might get through the first screen, so first 10 or 20, and I might call 5 or maybe 8 people. So it's a very small chance, but the number goes up dramatically if you contact a person at the company, especially if you know somebody at the company who can advocate for you and forward your resume over to the recruiting staff and say, I know this person, you need to talk to them. And, and here's a summary of what they sent me in their email about how they meet the requirements for the job. That increases your chances to 50%. Or if you don't know anybody at the company, what I recommend is reach out to the recruiter who posted the job. If you can see the recruiter's name, sometimes on LinkedIn, about 1 in 10 times you can see the recruiter's name. And if you can't find the name of the recruiter, go a level up and search on LinkedIn for a recruiting leader that works at that company and see if they can get you in touch with the right recruiter. And when you reach out to them, give them the job requisition number and let them know you meet the job requirements. Those words are like golden to a recruiter. Whenever I got a phone call and somebody said, I just applied for your job and I meet the requirements, bingo. And when I think of those stories, those are the people actually that I hired. So that's what I recommend. That's the biggest trick I learned when I worked as a recruiter. Now here's an article I found this week, a new article about resume writing rules that can put you ahead of the competition. So I thought I'd share this with you. And this is from, was posted by the Muse. And this is the person that posted these recommendations. And there are a few more rules as well, but I picked the kind of the top 10 and I'll walk these through with you because I thought they were pretty good. In fact, very good. First one is very important. When you're submitting a resume, avoid spelling and grammar errors. As a recruiter, I would get so tired of seeing even spacing issues or grammar errors. And I would say 95% of the resumes I saw had some sort of issue. Spacing error, typo, grammar, inconsistent verb tenses. And the second point, watch your tenses. If you have a job that's in the past, all your bullet points should start with a really strong action verb in the past tense and be consistent with that. And when you attach your resume, attach it as a PDF. When you apply online, make sure it's readable by the system. So you may want to have it in native MS Word format. Or if you're sending your resume to a recruiter directly, send it as a PDF. And make sure it's easy to read, that there's lots of white space, that you have key areas of expertise with key words that match the job description. So make sure it's easy to read by both the ATS, the applicant tracking system, and by the recruiter who may be looking at it. And quantify your results as much as possible as well. And then name drop, title drop. You know, if you've supported some terrific, important clients, list those. And if you supported or worked directly for the CEO, mention that. Go ahead. And use judgment when it comes to creativity and the design of your resume. In the online version that when you're applying for a job, you want it pretty clean, MS Word, no formatting. But in your attached version, especially if you're in marketing or graphic design, you may want to do a little bit of design work that's appropriate for your industry. So use your better judgment and maybe reach out to people you trust in your industry to give you feedback about that. And don't list everything you've done in your resume. Think about the person who's reading your resume. They're reading to see if you're a good match for the job. So they want to see evidence that you have done the things that they need at their job. So you want to focus on the things that are important. And then think about that specific job you're applying to. And we'll show some examples of how to think through that. So I thought this was a really good article. You can Google it just by typing in basic resume writing rules and look for the article by the Muse, and it was good. And one other thing I wanted to share with you is when we get asked about resumes, the recommended length for a chronological resume is 2 pages, but you might want to have a 1-page executive bio for when you're just networking with people or reaching out to people just for guidance. It's a very different type of document. A resume really kind of signals you're looking for a job, but a 1-page bio can be used in a lot of different networking situations. Or if you're just reaching out to somebody at a company that you admire and you're just asking for their advice, it's a good option to use that. And resumes really look at all your work history. Bios focus on your major accomplishments and can be used for multi-purposes. And you know, everybody needs a resume. The 1-page bios are primarily used by senior level people, but as I'm coaching people now, I'm finding more and more people are creating a 1-page executive bio. And I've had a client that had a really nice, simple MS Word format, and he got really good feedback about it. So what I did was I took his format with his permission, and I just plugged my information into it, and we've shared that in chat. And so it's just a simple template, MS Word, anybody could update it and create it for your own. So we've shared that in the chat box if that's of use to you. And I've had quite a few, and this is what it looks like. Basically, it has your picture and a few keywords, background, very brief summary of your chronological history, education, contact information, and then key accomplishments for here. And you want these headings to match the key skills that you're looking for in the jobs that you're applying for. So, so this is a sort of an example of a layout and a format that's really easy to update. Good. And so now I'll give you the instructions on how to get a chance to win our New Year's gift, which is a free 1-hour coaching session with me. And I always get feedback at the end of my coaching sessions. I always ask my clients, what value did you get? And unanimously, people say they got value, and they talk about the things that they learned that they can apply right away in their job search. And so what I'd like you to do, and I see people are already doing this in chat, that's great, either in chat or in comments on Facebook Live, type in a number between 1 and 100. And I've written down a number on this little piece of paper here. And so we'll give this a few minutes to percolate a little bit, but I'd like for anybody who wants to win a free coaching session with me, I do them on Zoom, go ahead and type in a number in chat or on Facebook. You can do it as well. There's a couple people on Facebook. You're welcome to do that. So I'm going to let that percolate a minute because it might take a second. And I'll talk about what we'll do is I'll have Jeff talk for a minute about master resumes, and then we'll come back to the numbers and see who the winner is. So Jeff, this is a great concept that I really kind of learned from you.
Okay, well, also, as I'm looking at the numbers here, Jeffrey Gill, you need to change your 33 because that number's already taken, and 56, Joe Dunno, if you need to change your number to a different number because 56 has already been taken, so just.
And it looks like 57
has already been taken too, so.
So HTA, you need to, the guy from Atlanta, yeah, you need to change yours as well.
Right. So yeah,
Okay.
you want to make sure you pick a different number, haven't you picked. All right, a master resume. So here is where what I think you should do is you should make a resume that has everything you've ever done since high school, and include jobs in high school if they're relevant, if you did some internships or something. And you put all the details in. You put day, month, and year of starting and stopping. You put in supervisors' names. You put in the company's address. You put in all this detail. And then when you see a job description, what you do is you take your master resume, you save it as the name of the new document, and then you start deleting everything that's unimportant. So you may take your 10 or 15 page resume and cut it down to 1 or 2 pages because you want to make it so simple for the recruiter to go, oh, this is what we're looking for. Oh, this person's done everything we're looking for. I'm sure everybody here has done a lot of other really, really good things, but you want to make it really easy for the recruiter who's going to spend 7 to 10 seconds looking at your resume to go, yes, I want to call this person, or I want to look at this resume in more detail. So, just tell them what you know. I mean, just tell them what they're asking for. That's the important part.
Great. Yeah, I really, really appreciate that. And as I'm coaching people are starting to do that, to have that master resume, but then when they're applying for the job, make sure it's targeted to the job. Okay. So, let's see, we had one person on Facebook Live submit a number, and a lot of people are really close in Zoom. Here is the number, 80. And we have somebody that was just 1 digit off, 79. So Lori West, you had 79. And so Lori, if you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn, we'll set up a 1 hour coaching session, and we'll talk through whatever topic you want to talk through, whether it's job search, resume writing, just career challenges, career transition, interviewing, how to get noticed, all that, how to work with recruiters, whatever you want to talk about. Good. And I want to mention that there were a couple of other people that were really close. Daniel with 78. Kaya also had 78, maybe picked a different number.
And then Bill Jones had 82.
82, Bill Jones. You 3 people, if you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn, send me a message, say I was just 2 digits off or whatever, 2 or 3, I was really close, and submit your biggest question or whatever to me on LinkedIn, and I'll respond to you individually. Yeah, so you're welcome to reach out to me on LinkedIn and tell me your biggest challenge, and I'll get with you on that. Okay, so lots of good energy here. Very close, very close. So, okay, good. So congratulations to Lori, and thank you for all for participating. And now we'll review, I'll do this kind of quickly so we can get to our sample resumes. We'll talk about characteristics of good resumes. You want to make it easy for those ATS systems and screeners to see that you're a great match for a job. Once again, you want your format to be very clean, lots of white space, typically 2 pages. That's kind of the sweet spot for most professional resumes. There might be some situations, higher education or technical jobs, government jobs, where it might be longer is more appropriate, but typically 2 pages is what hiring managers like to see. And in terms of number of years, do we have a polling question, Jeff, or do you want me to put it on the screen? Let's see, for number of years. I can put it, yeah, great. Okay, we do have a polling question for everybody in the audience.
Go ahead and put it up on the screen for those people on Facebook.
Okay, and I'll put it on the screen as well for people on Facebook. So on Facebook, you can select A, B, or C. I like to see in the audience, how much experience do you show on your resume? All of your experience, or just the most recent 10 to 15 years, or focus on the 10 to 15 years, show the most detail there, but then list a new section that says prior relevant experience with companies before that. And funny thing is, when I applied for a job at the age of 59, I showed all my experience because I was networking with people that knew I'd worked for ATS forever. And so they knew me. And I was applying with somebody I knew that was a director of a wonderful staffing agency called Next Step Recruiting. And it worked fine for me, but I don't know if I recommend that for everyone. And as a recruiter, I would see a lot of people that fall in the category B, where they'd show 10 years of experience, and it would all say VP or director, and it looked like their resume was cut off. And sometimes there was confusion during the interview process because I would say, tell me about a time you managed a challenging project doing such and such. And they'd refer to something like when I was a project manager at IBM, and I'd look at the resume and say, I don't see it on the resume. And they'd say, oh, I didn't even put it on there. It would just cause confusion. So what I found is recruiters and hiring managers really respond well to option C, where you focus on your most 10 to 15 or maybe 20 most recent years, but then have a heading at the bottom, towards the bottom, it says prior relevant experience, and list those companies you work for and maybe the job titles. And you don't have to put the dates. You don't have to on your resume for those older jobs if you don't want to, but that way it shows the full picture. So it doesn't appear that you're hiding something. So, so that's a little bit of some options about that. And then I get asked a lot about how to fill a gap in a resume. And I'm seeing it more and more, people that may have been laid off, well, like in 2019, and then COVID hit in 2020, and they're still looking. So people have a long gap now, or sometimes a gap between jobs. So I always ask people, what are you doing in addition to your job search? What community leadership? Are you doing any consulting, even if it's pro bono? Maybe even at your local church, helping the front office with some accounting or something, or continuing education certifications. What are you doing? And if you're doing something, and I encourage you to do something, put it on your resume. So here's an example. If I were to put something in recent times on my resume, I might put something like community leadership and consulting. Like I do some community leadership by serving as a panelist and a coach with the PIT crew. And then also I provide consulting services for a local nonprofit. Happens to be a church and it's pro bono, but I do help the pastor with his preparation for interviews and hiring and helping him hire associate pastors. So, so that's something you can do to fill in the gap. And these are some key components of a resume. You may have additional components, but these are some of the most common key components. You start off with a heading. You want to make it really clean with 4 key pieces of contact information, including your LinkedIn URL, and you do not need to include your physical street address. And then your summary profile. And as we were getting on the line, somebody said, I guess any more people don't want to see an objective. That's correct. You don't want to say, I want to find a company where I can grow my skills. You don't want to say that. You want to say a summary of who you are as a professional, using words and skills that align and match the job you're applying to. So you want an opening sentence or 2 that takes up maybe about 3 lines, and then areas of expertise with about 9 keywords that are important to the job description, especially the top 3 in the first column need to really align with the job you're applying to. That's so important. And I'll go back to that slide because it's so important. In this section of your resume, you must really apply it or modify it every time you apply for a job. And then an optional section you can have, especially if you're in sales or business development or something where you have to meet a lot of targets, is to have a section about key accomplishments to show your track record of meeting targets, like sales targets or maybe getting awards in those areas. So that could be a optional section to summarize over your career key accomplishments. And then in your professional experience area, you want to make it clean, easy to read, with the dates in bold to the right for the length of time you worked for the company. And we'll show, if you've had multiple jobs within a company, we'll show how to do that in a moment. And make sure each bullet point starts with an action verb focusing on your accomplishments, and make sure your verbs are parallel. For jobs in the past, make sure all of your verbs are in the past tense. You wouldn't believe how many resumes I see where it's a mishmash. And I've had hiring managers throw away those resumes. And then also we've had some great experts suggest to include like a one-line description of the company that you worked for, especially if it's a company that's not very well known, so that it helps the recruiter know what industry you worked in and such. And then in your professional experience, these bullet points should really focus on results and not just the tasks you were given. It shouldn't read like a job description. And one thing I do almost every time I'm coaching somebody with a resume is go through the bullet points and practice turning a bullet point into a result by playing what I call the so what game. If you've heard me talk about the so what game, give me a green check mark in the participant box. If you've heard me do this before, give me a green check mark. And I'll walk through an example. And this is actually a recent example of when I was coaching somebody that was is in the marketing space. They had a neat bullet on their resume where they guided the next phase of brand evolution for a multimedia artist, and they managed some film productions and publishing and stuff. So they did a lot of good stuff. But I said, so what? What was the result? That's just a funny way of asking, what was the result? What was the outcome? What was the accomplishment? What was the impact? And she answered and said, well, it increased the business opportunities for my clients, and it led to 10 new commissions for them. And so that gave her ideas of stronger verbs to use at the front of her bullet point to focus on the accomplishment or the result. So instead of saying guided new phase of brand evolution, she rewrote it to say increased business opportunities, including 10 new commissions for my client based on developing a social media and PR strategy. She also changed the wording a little bit to align more with what the job was looking for. I mean, this is the work she was doing, but she'd used different kinds of words. So she reworded it a little bit to align to the job. So I thought she did a good job doing that. And here is an example. If you've had a job, give me a green check mark in the participant box if you've ever had multiple jobs within one company on your resume. If you ever had multiple jobs at one company, click on the green check mark in the participant box. I see a few check marks there. What you want to do is show the full time you were at the company over to the right, but then for every job, put it in parentheses and don't justify the dates for each job. And that way it tells a better story. Because if you do it the other way around and justify all these dates, it makes it look like you're a job hopper at first glance. And a recruiter typically spends 7.4 seconds looking at your resume. They don't spend time really reading it and dissecting it. And if they see what looks like you hop from job to job to job, it'll look like you're a job hopper. And this way it does it. It shows the progression you had within a company. And how to handle the situation if your company has changed names. You can give the current name of the company followed by the old name, or the old name with the date of the merger or acquisition. And I had to do that on my resume in 2012 when I retired from HP. I put HP Enterprise Services, formerly EDS, or I could have said EDS acquired by Hewlett Packard. So there's a couple different options there. And you want to be sure to put your education and software skills. We had a good example on a resume several weeks ago where somebody didn't have a degree, but they wanted to put that they had they had quite a few hours of courseware. So they put the school, city, state, and the area of concentration, and they had like 97 credit hours. So I thought that was a good alternative, because you don't want to say bachelor's if you don't have a bachelor's degree. So you want to be true and don't make it look like you falsified information. And be sure to list software skills, especially ones that align to the job that you're applying to. Okay, and this is one of my favorite slides here. And what this is on the left is I'm showing a job description. And what we're doing here is illustrating the process that you need to go through every time you apply for a job. You really want to do it thoughtfully and take a moment, a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes, and really study the job description and highlight keywords and skills that they're looking for, and make sure you're including those on the, oops, sorry, I disabled. I was trying to make this hide names, enable, okay. I was playing with the annotation here, and okay, enable annotation, okay. And what you want to do is make sure that you're highlighting those keywords on your resume as well. And for example, on this job description, under here's what you bring, or in the qualification section, they're looking for Agile. So Agile and Scrum. So you want to make sure to highlight that. And they're looking for Visual Studio. So be sure that that's in your software skills. And up in the description area, they're looking for people that can document business requirements. You know, make sure that that is front and center, that you're doing that. So, so make sure that you're aligning the language of your resume to the job description. So I highly recommend doing that. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to submit those into.
There were a couple questions. Bonnie asked, what about a company that's no longer in existence? I think, yeah, you still list the company name. Yes. And I mean, you can always in your little one-line description, you know, went out of business in, you know, 2015.
Yeah, you could do that.
If you go back and look at my resume, every company I've ever worked for, there was only 2 of them that are still in business. 2 out of 8 that are still in business.
Yeah. Yeah, like EDS doesn't exist anymore, but it was on my resume. Yes. Okay. Somebody's missing their participant response icons. Okay, clear all. Give me a green check mark if you can see the green check mark. That. I don't know. I know on certain devices like iPads, I think you can't see the icons for some reason.
Kaya asked, should the number of bullet points for each position be the same? No, only show relevant bullet points. If it's not, if they're not talking about it in the job description, you don't need to talk about it on your resume. Your resume is just a fishing hook so that somebody will pick up the phone and call you or reach out to you via email or text.
Yes, and you want to have a minimum of 2 bullet points. That's just best writing practices, not to have just 1 bullet point, and no more than 5 or 8 at the very most. I've seen some people have 15 bullet points, and that's way too many. We have lots of good questions in here. Let's see. Somebody said they received guidance to cut it off at 15 years to avoid potential age discrimination. I disagree with that. I mean, that's my perspective, because as a recruiter, I saw a lot of resumes like that, and I present them to hiring managers, and they'd say, what am I missing here? There's something left off, something's cut off. And so a way to get around that is by having a heading that says prior relevant experience, and just list the company names and maybe titles that you had for those companies. So anyway, that's my perspective.
Yeah, somebody's going to look you up on LinkedIn, and or when they call you up, or if they Zoom call you, they're going to go, oh yeah, you're not 30. I mean, they're going to tell pretty quickly.
And especially if you're only jobs. And I saw a resume recently, it showed the last 10 years, VP, VP, VP. I'm like, did you have any jobs before VP? I asked that once, you know, so, because it really is obvious if you cut off your resume. It's just obvious. And it just causes an awkward discussion. Okay, you must miss, okay. Okay. Company no longer, okay, let's see.
Do recruiters compare what you have in your resume with what you have listed in LinkedIn? Well, you want to make sure whatever's on your resume is on LinkedIn. you should have more things on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is your master resume. It's your 10-page resume where you're only going to tell the recruiter those things that are relevant. So you want to make sure the words are the same, the company names are the same.
And the most important thing is company names and the dates, because recruiters do check those. And I caught somebody in a lie once where they fabricated their resume. There was a job that wasn't on their LinkedIn, and I called them about it. They said, yeah, I worked there. I said, well, I know the HR manager there. I called him, he hadn't worked. So anyway, yeah, you want to make sure, because people are looking at that to catch. And people, unfortunately, there are people out there that fabricate information. And what if you leave and then return to a company? Yeah, I was just working with somebody the other day. They had a company, they went someplace else, and then they went back to the company. If that's part of your chronology, I would say list it. And that can be a good story to say, I left this place, but they want to be back. That's a good story. So, okay. All right. Company went out of business. Yeah, most companies have a lot of business. Okay. State company worked at, but since got out of business. Okay. So I'm looking at the questions real quick.
Patty says, what do you think about including your resume in the featured section on LinkedIn? I've had advice about doing this. My advice, don't do that, because your resume, you've cut it down to a 2-page generic resume. You only should be sending out resumes that are customized to a job description. If you don't, first of all, the thing that you may want to put on LinkedIn is a 1-page bio, which I've put up in the chat box. You can download the sample bio. That would be a lot better because it's a higher level thing and it doesn't get into all the weeds. But don't post your resume on LinkedIn, because all the details are already on LinkedIn that people are going to search for.
Yeah, good answer there. Bold formats, okay. If not in business, formerly known as. I'm not big on using acronyms like that. So I just list the company name. Yeah.
Yeah, but if it is a company that's prior that has changed names, just put in parentheses, but say it out loud. I mean, spell it out, formerly EDS.
Yes,
or,
that's what I say. Yeah, formerly EDS. Yeah. So avoid acronyms. Previous experience on the resume on LinkedIn. Yeah, you probably do want to show those previous jobs on LinkedIn as well, so it matches up.
And then Rico, you say, is LinkedIn recommended for a job hunt in specific? I'm not really sure what you're talking about, but if you want to join us next Tuesday for our LinkedIn seminars at 1 o'clock, Locke Alderson's going to be talking specifically about how to use LinkedIn for a job search. So you may be able to answer those details, or you may be able to figure out how to make it work then.
Yeah, and recruiters use LinkedIn. And when I started in recruiting in 2012, even people like at lower level jobs like accounts payable, accounts receivable weren't on LinkedIn very much, but now they are. And recruiters use that a lot. And if they get your resume, they look you up on LinkedIn right away because they want to see how you present yourself. And so LinkedIn is an important tool. That is how you present yourself to the public. So yes.
And if they are going to look you up, they're probably going to look you up on Facebook.
Yes,
they're probably going to Google your name. So make sure you have Facebook either clamped down. Make sure that you're okay with whatever you have on Facebook that's open to the public.
Yes, yes. I worked with recruiters. That was kind of an afternoon activity to look at their candidates up on on Facebook. Okay. I'm going to try to do this in order that I received them.
Yeah, Jeff was the first one you got.
Okay. Let's see. Share. So I am sharing a resume now. Can you
got it?
Okay. Can you see the resume okay, Jeff?
Yes, looks great.
Okay, good, good. Okay. Good. Just want to double check there. And this happens almost more than 50% of the time. All of a sudden, I just get booted out. Okay, share. Do that again. It's when I click on the chat box so I can monitor chats. Sometimes I I think it overloads Zoom a little bit. Okay, so thank you for submitting your resume. What I'm going to do is scroll down the resume, and for people in the audience, if you see things you like about the resume, go ahead and type in a few words about what you like about the resume. If you see suggestions for improvement based on what we've discussed, feel free to type those in as well. So we'll take a quick scan as if a recruiter were looking at your resume. So you see the contact information, the professional summary, professional skills, notable accomplishments, career accomplishments with lots of quantifiable data, and professional experience. Okay. And a header on page 2. Okay, let me take a poll about that. In fact, I'm going to open up a poll, or not a poll, but in the participant box, click on the green check mark if you think it's a good idea to put a header on that second page, or red X if you don't think it's a good idea. There are a couple different perspectives on that, I think. Okay, good. And then we have education and associations. Okay, good, good. Overall, I will say, I'll go ahead and say I like the formatting, lots of white space. As a recruiter, this is easy to read. However, I don't know who you are at first glance. Like, what kind of person are you? And
Yeah,
so
I think I would just go and delete professional summary and move that certified purchasing manager down, and that becomes your bold headline, because that's
yes,
who you are if that's the
yes,
job you're applying for.
Yes. And that's what recruiters recommend. Put your headline instead of a generic summary, unless you're in career transition. But if you're a supply chain manager and you're applying for a supply chain management role, put supply chain manager, supply chain director, or what was your most recent role? Retail associate. Okay, material planner. So
I am trying to either supply chain or materials management. There's, you know, that's why the ASCM and the ISM stuff is at the bottom, you know.
well, like, what's the last job you applied for? What was the title?
Hell, I have no idea.
Okay, all right. Or just off the top of your head in the last month, what was a common title?
Something, I just don't remember, Carol, if it was.
Okay, that's fine. I was going to say, whatever that title is, try to put that at the top of your resume if you've done that role before. And if you need to slightly modify your role, retail associate, material planner. Oh, here we go. Supply chain management analyst. If you're applying for a supply chain analyst role, put that at the top, because you want to say, because I give you really good marks on your resume. It's a nice short summary. You've got your professional skills, but it takes me a moment to see what you are. And so I would recommend that title there. And these professional skills, you want to make sure they align with keywords that are in the job description. So I'd wonder about words like organizer, scheduler. Look at the job description, or analyzer. Look at what they are looking for, you know, actual requirements or duties, and use language they're using. So you would modify those. And good for you for having notable accomplishments that are measurable. There are quite a few of them. I wonder if you want to focus on your top 5 most important that are relevant to the job, 4 or 5 that are most relevant. Okay. And then somebody, I'm looking at the questions. Okay, all right. And under professional experience, I like to see the company name and the dates in bold. Otherwise, it looks a little bit out of balance to me to have this not be in bold and then the thing underneath it is bold. And then something causes an issue with me looking at this is the indentation, inconsistent indentation. This is the second job is different, and that lists a location. Yeah, so there's some inconsistency here. bullet points. So I'd recommend you adopt a format and be consistent. It's like with the older jobs, your format was to have the title and then a paragraph. And nowadays, hiring managers don't read paragraphs. You want to have 3 or 4 headlines of accomplishments. So I would rework the rest of it. So
And somebody did make the suggestion about his email address. Prodigy says, I'm OLD. So you may want to get a Gmail account or a .me or a .outlook account. You can always, if you get a Gmail account, you can always have it feed your Prodigy account if that's what you're used to using. But you can just have it forward all the emails there. But get an email account that, it could even be Jeffrey Gill CPM at gmail.com if that's available or something. So Prodigy just says it's like AOL, your OLD.
okay, all right, good. Any other comments on this one? And I think I'm out of time. Yeah. Okay. So I think we're out of time. So the second person that sent it to me, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn with any specific questions you might have. So this has been an action-packed session, and congratulations again to Lori and to those other 3 people that were very close in numbers. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn with your biggest question, and I'll be happy to help you. And thank you all for participating.
This is Carol's LinkedIn profile. So this is what it looks like. So you know you have the right Carol when you look her up. Please, if you want to connect with her, please send a personal note. Just don't hit connect. Always send that personal message so we know who you are. You're welcome to, seek me out and you can connect with me also, but send me a personal note that you were part of the Effective Resume Thursday class and you'd like to connect or whatever. That'd be great. All right. Oops, let's see here. Oops, I'm on the wrong thing here. Let's see here. All right, for those people on Facebook, if you'd like to get the sample cover letter or a resume, you can send an email to webmaster@careerdfw.org and I'll send that to you. I did put it in the chat box for everybody so you can download it. And I know that there's one person, Jennifer, that needs to have it, and I will email it to you as soon as we get done here today. Please join us for other programming we have coming up. I mentioned the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group that meets tomorrow morning. We meet every Friday from 9:30 to 11:30. Tomorrow's topic will be open forum, meaning that the first Friday of every month, we just do open forum where you have questions about your job search, ask us, and it's sort of open, everybody just sort of asking and offering suggestions to anybody about their job search. We do have speakers lined up the next 3 Fridays after this coming up for the rest of the month. Next Tuesday, as I mentioned before, Locke Alderson will be doing his LinkedIn presentation, how to use LinkedIn for job hunting, strategies that gets results. Every Tuesday, we do a LinkedIn presentation. We have 4 different experts who give their view on LinkedIn. They're all a little bit different. So please join us for LinkedIn on Tuesday. And then next Wednesday, we're doing Interviewing Wednesday, every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. We'll be on session number 2, preparing for specific interview and networking part 1. So join us on Wednesday for that. It's a 13-part series during the month of January, February, and March. This session has been recorded. All these sessions will be recorded, will be on the Career at FW Facebook page and on the Career USA YouTube channel for you to go back and look at, and you can watch it as many times as you'd like. If you want to on Facebook, please just click the follow button. Every time you do that, every time we go live, you'll get a little alert on your phone that we're currently broadcasting one of our workshops. And on YouTube, if you will subscribe to our YouTube channel, every time we post a new video, and this video will be up in a couple hours. It'll take a couple hours for YouTube to get it up there. But once it's up there, you'll get an alert saying that a new video has been posted on the channel. Here's what the YouTube channel looks like. Be sure that you're looking at Created Playlist because that way you see all the different little lists that I've sort of put together. And down where you see the red arrow, it says Effective Resumes. There's Interviewing, there's LinkedIn. But don't click on the video, but click down where it says View Full Playlist. And what will pop up is all the recent, from the most current session, and then going backward to all the prior sessions. So as of last year, we did 32 different workshops on just about resumes last year. If you'd like to join the Career DFW and Career USA LinkedIn groups, please, you're welcome to do that. As of today, we crossed over 12,800 members in the Career DFW LinkedIn group. So if you'd like to join, look on LinkedIn, you're welcome to LinkedIn. You're welcome to connect and join both of those groups. Please note, Career DFW is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have no full or part-time employees. Carol's a volunteer. I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done over the last 12 years has just strictly been to help you. It's my little charity to give back to people. We have no full or part-time employees, and we survive on donations. Helps pay for the web hostings and everything we have to pay for. Please consider when you land your next great opportunity to make a donation. That would really help us out so we can continue to help other people in the future. So thank you for joining us today. Maybe we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9:30, or we'll see you next week, we hope. Have a great weekend. Carol, thanks again.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. And thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.